Nearly 2 million people were deported from the United States in the past decade. And now, enforcement activity in parts of California is rising again. In some communities, immigrant rights groups report increased federal presence near workplaces, neighborhoods, and even public spaces. The question is no longer if enforcement is happening, it's who could be affected next. And the answer may surprise you. You might think ICE only targets serious criminals, but what if a simple traffic stop, a past paperwork mistake, or even being in the wrong place at the wrong time could put someone at risk? What if people with no recent criminal history are suddenly facing unexpected encounters? Policies shift, priorities change, and often, families don't realize they're vulnerable until there's a knock at the door. So what's really happening in California right now? Who is most at risk? And what can you do to protect yourself and your loved ones? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear could make all the difference. Number 1, expanded workplace enforcement. Across parts of California, there has been a noticeable rise in worksite enforcement activity, and this shift is creating anxiety for thousands of families. While workplace investigations have always existed, recent operations are placing renewed attention on employee documentation, compliance audits, and unannounced inspections. What makes this especially concerning is that enforcement doesn't always stop with the employer. It can extend directly to workers on site. Here's what many people don't realize. Even longtime employees with no criminal history can become vulnerable if there are documentation discrepancies, expired work permits, or unresolved immigration paperwork. In some cases, enforcement begins as a routine inspection of employment records, but if federal agents identify inconsistencies, it can quickly escalate. And because workplaces are concentrated environments, multiple individuals may be questioned at once. Imagine showing up for a regular shift, coffee in hand, thinking about your day, and suddenly seeing federal officers enter the building. That element of surprise is what makes workplace operations so impactful. There's little time to prepare in the moment. So what can workers actually do? First, understand your right to remain silent. You are not required to answer questions about your immigration status without proper legal authority. Second, never provide false documents or misinformation. That can create far more serious legal consequences. Third, keep copies of important paperwork in a safe place at home and make sure trusted family members know where they are. Preparation does not mean panic, it means awareness. Because in times of increased enforcement, knowing your rights can be the difference between chaos and control. If this information opened your eyes, even a little, let's start a real conversation. Drop a comment below and tell us what concerns you most about these changes. Your voice matters, and someone reading your comment might feel less alone because of it. Number 2, collateral arrests. One of the most misunderstood parts of immigration enforcement is something called a collateral arrest. This happens when federal agents are looking for one specific individual, but end up detaining others they encounter during the operation. In simple terms, you may not be the target, yet you could still be affected. Picture this. Officers arrive at a home, apartment complex, or workplace searching for someone with a prior order or investigation. While there, they interact with other individuals present. If those individuals are unable to prove lawful status on the spot, or if agents believe there is a violation, the situation can escalate quickly. What started as an operation focused on one person can suddenly involve several. This creates a new layer of uncertainty. You could be visiting a friend, you could be living with extended family, you could simply be nearby. And in that moment, fear and confusion can make people say or do things that harm their case. Here's what's important to understand. You still have constitutional rights. You are not required to answer questions about your birthplace, immigration status, or how you entered the country without speaking to a lawyer. You do not have to sign documents you don't understand. And unless agents present a judicial warrant signed by a judge, you are not required to open the door to a private residence. The key difference between panic and protection is knowledge. Collateral arrests thrive on surprise, but preparation reduces vulnerability. When families understand their rights ahead of time, they are far less likely to make rush decisions under pressure. If this section made you think differently about what being at risk really means, I want to hear from you. Instead of just typing "thank you," tell us something deeper. What situation worries you the most? Is it the workplace? A traffic stop? A family member's past case? Your comment could guide our next video. Number 3, prior removal orders. One of the most serious and often overlooked risk factors in expanded enforcement is having a prior removal order. What makes this especially alarming is that some people don't even realize they have one. A removal order can be issued in different ways. Sometimes a person missed a court date years ago and a judge ordered deportation in absentia, meaning the decision was made without them present. In other cases, Someone may have voluntarily departed but still triggered a formal order in the system. Over time, life moves on. Families grow, jobs are built, and that old case fades into the background, but it never fully disappears. Here's the critical part. Individuals with existing removal orders are often considered high enforcement priorities. If federal authorities encounter someone with an active order, the legal process can move much faster because the case has technically already been decided. And there may be fewer procedural delays compared to someone without prior proceedings. Imagine living for years believing your situation is pending or forgotten, only to find out it was finalized long ago. That shock is what makes prior orders so dangerous. So what can you do? First, request a copy of your immigration record through a Freedom of Information Act (FOIA) request if you are unsure about your history. Second, consult a qualified immigration attorney to review whether your case can be reopened or challenged. Third, never ignore official court notices, even if they seem old or confusing. Knowledge of your own legal history is power, because you can't defend against what you don't know exists. If this made you pause and think about your own situation or someone you care about, don't just scroll away. Share your thoughts in the comments. Tell us, did you know prior removal orders could still be active years later? Your question or experience might help someone else realize they need to check their status. Number 4, traffic stops. For many families, the most unexpected risk doesn't happen at work or at home. It happens on the road. A simple traffic stop can sometimes open the door to much larger consequences, and that's what makes this issue so important to understand. In California, state laws limit how local law enforcement cooperates with federal immigration authorities. But that doesn't mean every situation ends there. Certain arrests, outstanding warrants, or prior records can still trigger information sharing through federal databases. In some cases, what begins as a broken taillight or minor speeding violation can escalate if additional issues surface. Now imagine the stress of flashing red and blue lights in your rearview mirror. Your heart starts racing. You replay every possibility in your mind. That emotional pressure alone can cause people to overshare information, consent to searches they didn't have to allow, or answer questions they were not legally required to answer. Here's what's critical to remember. During a traffic stop, you have the right to remain silent beyond providing required identification and basic documents like your driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance. You do not have to discuss your immigration status. You also have the right to refuse consent to a vehicle search unless officers have probable cause. The most practical protection? Make sure your driver's license is valid, your registration is current, and your vehicle is in good condition. Small preventive steps, like fixing lights or renewing paperwork, can reduce the chance of being pulled over in the first place. Preparation turns fear into confidence, and confidence changes everything in high-pressure moments. If this section hit close to home, I want you to do something different in the comments today. Instead of just saying thanks, share one word that describes how you feel about this information. Concerned, prepared, surprised, motivated. Let's see what this community is really thinking. Number 5, data trails. Many people believe that once they submit an immigration application, whether it's for a visa, work permit, green card, or DACA, the information simply sits there unless the case is active. But in reality, every application creates a data trail, and that trail doesn't disappear. When you file paperwork, you provide addresses, employment history, family details, and identification records. Even if a benefit expires, is denied, or is withdrawn, that information often remains within federal systems. During periods of expanded enforcement, previously submitted records can be reviewed again, especially if a status has lapsed or conditions have changed. Here's where the risk increases. Some individuals forget renewal deadlines. Others assume that once a program ends, nothing further happens. But a status expiration can quietly shift someone from authorized presence to vulnerability. And because the government already has updated contact information, locating individuals may become easier than many realize. Imagine building a life over several years, changing jobs, moving homes, starting a family, while assuming your old application is just closed. Then suddenly you discover your previous filings are being referenced in a new enforcement context. That surprise can feel overwhelming. So what can you do? First, track all expiration dates carefully. Set calendar reminders months in advance. Second, keep copies of every document you've submitted. Third, consult an immigration professional before allowing any status to lapse, even temporarily. Your paperwork is more than just forms. It's a digital footprint, and understanding that footprint is one of the smartest ways to stay prepared in changing enforcement environments. If this made you rethink your own paperwork or deadlines, Don't keep that thought to yourself. In the comments, share this. When is the next important date in your immigration journey? It could be a renewal, consultation, or court hearing. Writing it down publicly might motivate someone else to double check theirs too. Number 6, social media monitoring. In today's digital world, your online presence can say more than you realize. One growing concern during expanded enforcement periods is the use of publicly available social media information. Federal agencies have acknowledged that they review open source data, meaning anything you post publicly can potentially be seen, saved, and analyzed. Now, this doesn't mean someone is watching every post, but if an investigation begins for any reason, social media can quickly become part of the review process. Photos, tag locations, job updates, travel history, even comments made years ago. All of it creates a digital timeline. Here's where people unintentionally increase risk, joking about documentation, exaggerating work details, or posting sensitive personal information. What feels harmless among friends can look very different when taken out of context. Even inconsistencies between online posts and official paperwork can raise red flags. Imagine being questioned about something you casually shared years ago, a post you barely remember writing. That's the power of digital permanence. So how do you protect yourself? First, review your privacy settings across all platforms. Limit who can see your posts. Second, avoid sharing details about immigration status, documentation, travel plans, or employment inconsistencies. Third, think long-term before posting. Ask yourself, would I be comfortable explaining this to an officer or in court? Your social media is more than entertainment. It's a record. And in sensitive times, being mindful online is just as important as being prepared offline. If this section made you want to double-check your social media right now, tell us honestly in the comments. Have you ever posted something you later regretted? No judgment, just real conversations. Your story might remind someone else to think twice before hitting post. Number 7, court appearances. Most people are told the same thing. If you have a court date, always show up. And that advice is still critical. Missing a court appearance can lead to serious consequences, including warrants or negative immigration decisions. But during periods of heightened enforcement, some individuals worry about another possibility. Increased federal presence near or around public court facilities. Courthouses are generally public buildings. That means different agencies can legally be present in public areas. While California has laws that limit certain types of cooperation between local authorities and federal immigration enforcement, federal officers still have authority to operate within the scope of federal law. This creates a difficult emotional situation. On one hand, not attending court can seriously damage your case. On the other hand, fear of enforcement near courthouses may cause anxiety for those with unresolved immigration status. That tension alone has led some people to make rushed decisions, like skipping hearings, which often creates far worse outcomes. So what's the smart approach? First, never ignore a court notice. Failing to appear can lead to automatic rulings against you. Second, consult an attorney ahead of time if you are concerned about possible enforcement risks. Third, attend court with a clear plan. Know your case details, bring necessary documents, and avoid unnecessary conversations about your immigration status outside legal proceedings. Preparation reduces fear. And fear is what leads to mistakes. Courts exist to resolve cases, but navigating them during sensitive enforcement periods requires awareness, strategy, and calm decision-making. If this topic made you reflect on your own court experiences, share something meaningful in the comments. What's one question you wish more people asked before going to court? Your insight could help someone feel more prepared and less afraid. Number 8, changes in enforcement priority. One of the most unpredictable factors in immigration enforcement is this: priorities can change quickly. What may not have been a focus last year could suddenly move to the top of the list, and when federal guidance shifts, the impact can be immediate. Every administration sets enforcement priorities, sometimes emphasizing individuals with serious criminal convictions, other times broadening the scope to include those with prior removal orders, missed hearings, or certain types of violations. The challenge is that these policy memos aren't always widely understood by the public. By the time most people hear about changes, enforcement may already be underway. Here's why this matters. Someone who felt relatively low risk under one set of priorities may find themselves newly vulnerable under another. Even minor past issues, like old charges, past voluntary departures, or administrative violations, can be re-examined under updated guidance. Imagine living with a sense of stability, believing enforcement is focused elsewhere, only to discover the criteria has quietly expanded. That shift creates uncertainty, and uncertainty fuels fear. So, how do you stay ahead of policy changes? First, follow updates from reputable immigration law sources rather than relying on rumors or social media speculation. Second, schedule periodic consultations with a qualified immigration attorney if your status is unresolved. Third, avoid assuming that past inaction guarantees future safety. Policies evolve, enforcement adapts, but staying informed gives you a powerful advantage and reduces the risk of being caught off guard when priorities shift. Let's make this interactive. In the comments below, tell us, do you think enforcement priorities should stay consistent or change with each administration? There's no right or wrong answer. We want to hear thoughtful perspectives from this community. Number 9, fear and misinformation. Sometimes, the biggest danger isn't enforcement itself. It's fear combined with misinformation. When rumors spread faster than facts, people make decisions based on panic instead of preparation. And in high-stress situations, panic can create consequences that are far more damaging than the original risk. We've seen this happen before. A rumor about raids everywhere spreads across social media. Messages get forwarded without verification. Suddenly, families are afraid to leave their homes, children miss school, and workers skip shifts. Not because of confirmed enforcement, but because of uncertainty. That emotional pressure builds quickly. Here's where things become truly risky. Fear can cause someone to open the door without a warrant, sign documents they don't understand, or provide information they were never legally required to give. In some cases, individuals unknowingly waive important rights simply because they feel overwhelmed in the moment. Misinformation also spreads false ideas about what ICE can and cannot do. For example, many people don't realize the difference between an administrative warrant and a judicial warrant signed by a judge. That distinction matters, and understanding it can completely change how someone responds during an encounter. So what's the solution? Pause before reacting. Verify information through trusted legal sources. Create a family preparedness plan in advance so you're not making decisions under pressure. Most importantly, remember this. You have rights regardless of your immigration status. Fear thrives in confusion, but clarity creates confidence, and confidence is one of the strongest forms of protection. If you've ever received a message about a raid that turned out to be unverified, share that experience in the comments. Let's expose misinformation together. Your story could help someone else think twice before spreading panic. Number 10, family preparedness gaps. The final, and often most overlooked, risk factor isn't legal status, paperwork, or even enforcement priorities. It's this, not having a family preparedness plan. When families assume it won't happen to us, they delay important conversations. And in moments of unexpected enforcement, that lack of planning can create chaos. Imagine this scenario. A parent is suddenly detained during a routine stop or workplace inspection. The children are at school. Bills are due. Important documents are at home, but no one knows where they're kept. There's no emergency contact list, no power of attorney, no plan for who picks up the kids. In those first 24 hours, confusion spreads faster than solutions. Preparedness doesn't mean expecting the worst. It means protecting the people you love. Families who take proactive steps are far more stable emotionally and legally if something unexpected occurs. So what does a strong preparedness plan include? First, designate a trusted person who can care for children temporarily if needed. Second, organize critical documents, passports, birth certificates, immigration paperwork in one secure location. Third, memorize key phone numbers instead of relying only on your cell phone. And fourth, discuss rights calmly with every adult family member so no one acts out of panic. Preparation creates stability, stability creates strength, and strength reduces vulnerability. In uncertain times, the most powerful move isn't fear, it's readiness, because when everyone knows the plan, even difficult situations become more manageable. If this video made you think differently about preparation, here's something meaningful you can do. In the comments, write the word prepared if you already have a plan, or starting today if you're committing. As we've discussed, expanded enforcement isn't just about headlines. It's about how everyday situations can suddenly carry unexpected consequences. From workplace inspections and traffic stops to prior removal orders, court appearances, and even social media activity, the risk landscape can shift quickly. And often, what makes the biggest difference isn't fear, it's preparation. If there's one key message to take away from this video, it's this. Awareness changes outcomes. When you understand your rights, keep your documents organized, stay updated on policy changes, and create a clear family preparedness plan, you dramatically reduce the chance of making panic-driven decisions. Most enforcement encounters become more dangerous when confusion takes over. But clarity creates control. It's also important to remember that not every rumor reflects reality. Policies evolve, priorities shift, and enforcement varies by circumstance. That's why relying on verified legal information instead of social media speculation is so critical. Staying calm and informed allows you to respond strategically rather than emotionally. If you feel uncertain about your specific situation, consulting a qualified immigration attorney can provide guidance tailored to your case. No YouTube video, including this one, can replace personalized legal advice, but what we can do is equip you with knowledge that strengthens your position. In uncertain times, preparation is power. Stay informed, stay organized, and most importantly, stay proactive. Because when you replace fear with facts, you give yourself and your family the strongest protection possible.